Hi, this is Carol Geyer. I'm the Director of Communications at OASIS. Welcome to our analyst briefing this morning. We have some very exciting things happening at OASIS, and with the introduction of the new OSLC member section. And welcome to this briefing. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you about this news. We'll be issuing a formal OASIS press release on the 30th of May, and we wanted this opportunity to give you an idea of what we'll be talking about, what the news is about, and why we're so excited. So we have three panelists this morning, and let me turn the mic over to our first panelist, Nick Kersten, who is the CEO of Tasktop. Nick?
Hi, everyone. I'm the CEO of Tasktop, and I'm a member of the OSLC Steering Committee of the Eclipse Board of Directors as well, and creator of the Eclipse Smiling Project. And I'll give you an overview of the announcement that we're making today. So to get started, the news here is that OSLC is coming to OASIS. So our mission is to standardize OSLC and to drive adoption of the open services for lifecycle collaboration standard among the industry, among vendors integrating support for lifecycle tools, among customers needing to extend that support to either in-house systems or to layer in additional interoperability or functionality on top of these lifecycle standards. This move to OASIS is being co-founded by 22 different organizations, and I'll show you a slide on who the different organizations are. And we now have unanimous blessing of the OASIS board of the approval of the proposal. So in terms of the story that got us here, OSLC was created from a need to have some kind of standards linking together different lifecycle tools. And at the very start, the collaboration with Tasktop started by taking some of the common data models that we saw and that we actually had created de facto implementations for and making standards from those. And those are OSLC and OSLC Core and OSLC CM, or OSLC Change Management. Since then, a lot of standards have evolved. The governance was done de facto by IBM until June 2012. At this point, a steering committee was formed. There was enough mass from vendor adoption, enough mass from adoption by IT organizations who needed some kind of standards to interoperate around the lifecycle. And last year, in June, a steering committee was formed around the OSLC. It was a multi-organization steering committee, and it provided a new governance model. And that really provided some of the groundwork needed to bring OSLC to OASIS. So we're now at an internationally recognized and independent standards organization. There's formal support from 22 organizations at the launch, and we expect quite a few more organizations to join over the course of the next 6 to 12 months. And participation is now governed by the established and well-known OASIS model. So the OASIS model for collaboration for evolving the standards that a lot of the leading vendors in the industry are already familiar with, given that they're members of OASIS. So again, this is just an evolution of the OSLC standards, but the whole idea here is that we're able to create both a standardization process and evolve these standards in a way that's established by OASIS, and again, bring even more participation to the open services for lifecycle collaboration standards that we've seen before. So the idea is that we're now in this world of very heterogeneous software delivery. And there's two parts of that we know to be quite interesting. One is just the software integration portion of it, the fact that disparate systems need to talk to each other, all of the effort that we're seeing around the API economy and around the ability to hook up web services in these loosely coupled ways. We've seen a lot of progress in. The place we've seen a lot less progress in terms of web standards and things of that sort is being able to hook up the life cycle of the way that organizations deliver those services. So the fact that we're now in this best-of-breed world where different vendors are providing different issue trackers that make developers, make it easy for developers to collaborate, while more traditional requirements management tools need to be used, or tools more suited to large-scale other project management, or ops, or help desk and ITSM systems. So where we've ended up, and what OSLC is a very important reaction to, is this very heterogeneous world where things need to be integrated. And traditional approaches to integrating these systems have required a lot of custom software to be built. And almost every vendor of one of the tools that managers as part of the lifecycle have created their own custom web service APIs. And in turn, that's put a very large burden of either other vendors, integration vendors, or the customer, creating a lot of custom code around those web service implementations. And the end result of this is just much higher total cost of ownership of the software systems that we maintain, because in addition to maintaining the actual systems and the things that encapsulate the business value, there's a lot of maintenance done on integrations. Even integrations vendors have a much higher cost of maintaining their integrations, because there are all these ad hoc implementations of web service standards specific to, again, the stages of the life cycle. Open standards instead are these key enablers for broader and larger scale integrations, and will enable this longer tail of integrations, will enable a new vendor who wants to provide value for particular stages of the life cycle to implement to a standard rather than coming up, again, with their own ad hoc REST API for their particular new defect or ops tracking tool. So the whole goal of the OSLC standards is to simplify this lifecycle integration problem and lead to cost savings and this increased flexibility in delivering software by making sure that the cost of connecting the different parts of the delivery are lower. The cost of integrating and layering any additional values, such as integrations, whether it be it reporting tools or integration frameworks, integration buses, any of those sorts of things can be done at a reasonable cost and can support as broad range of the lifecycle ecosystem, the ALM ecosystem, the PLM ecosystem that we see with reasonable cost and efficiency. And again, the place that we got to right now just doesn't make sense. There's just way too many REST APIs, SOAP APIs trying to do the exact same thing out there, and a standard is needed where we can collaborate on what those common web service APIs are. So the whole goal of OSLC is to help this world of software delivery run more efficiently, and we see OASIS as a great place to continue to do that and to grow the adoption of these open standards and collaborate around these open standards and evolve them with the participation of a growing number of organizations. So the current set of 22 organizations that we're starting with are listed here: Accenture, Bank of America, Boeing, Creative Intellect, the Eclipse Foundation, Ericsson, Fujitsu, IBM, JP Morgan Chase, Cover Software, KTH, Royal Institute of Technology, Mentor Graphics, National Instruments, Persistent, Red Hat, Siemens, Sodius, Software G, Tasktop, Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, and WSO2. And to give you a background on OSLC right now, so now, again, the big announcement is OSLC moving to OASIS and continuing to evolve on OASIS with a broader set of companies co-founding this effort, and what we expect to be an even broader set of companies and a growing set of organizations contributing as we evolve the standards. From a toolkit maker's point of view, OSLC is a way to create software using these reusable and open assets that integrate other tools, both inside and outside your tool vendor's influence, providing cost and savings. So again, being able to talk to third-party assets over known query protocols, known asset and resource standards, so that every tool vendor does not have to recreate a way of talking to a particular defect or issue. Again, there's been a lot of implementation and re-implementation of the exact same concept in a lot of vendors' APIs, and those differences get pushed off to other tool vendors as they need to re-implement that, to customers needing to build on top of those REST APIs, and to integration vendors needing to recreate the same REST interoperability or SOAP interoperability or native interoperability layers over and over again. For tool managers, their goal is to reduce the complexity and the risk of increasingly complex software infrastructures, so to improve the value of software across this broad set of internal and external stakeholders. The ability to actually manage this growingly best-of-breed and heterogeneous ecosystem of tools within the organization with some kind of common protocol to allow a level of interoperability across those tools. For tool users, just to enable what's happening already, this best-of-breed tools for your job, so the ability to use the best requirements tool that you might want, the one that's got the latest the latest mock-up facilities and the rest, while the rest of the organization can connect up to those tools. And without some kind of open standard, we simply can't get to high, or it's much more difficult than as we saw on the previous slide, much more costly to get it to a reasonable level of efficiency because so much adaptation has to be done for the changes of the different APIs as these tools change. And again, the concept of the life cycle, we're now starting to understand them quite a bit better, what the common concepts are, and can tie them in through this combination of open standards and integration across the tools. For systems integrators, the goal is to focus more energy and resources on higher value customizations. So again, these layers above the basic standard REST layer, where there's a lot of value can be added for how systems integrate, for integrating third legacy systems that may not support open standards, for integrating functionality that allows information to flow across systems the right way to deliver more business value to clients and increase client satisfaction. So again, the whole goal with all of these standards is to put the effort, is the layer above the base integration and to deliver value rather than to implement and re-implement the same thing over again at the simple web service layer for tying all of these tools together. So here's just a quick snapshot of how this looks, how OSLC and this notion of linked data works architecturally. At the core of this is the notion of linked data, the fact that all artifacts in the lifecycle can be linked. And this is this portion of OSLC has evolved into a W3C stack and underpins all of this. The notion that we can link any artifact by using something richer than a URL. And we need some, part of the issue here is that we need something richer than a URL across any kind of tools, across whether, be they artifacts like within the same vendor's tool or across vendor's tool or into other sort of third-party artifacts. So at the bottom we've got an architecture that's an extension of web architecture and this notion of linked data. We've got increased reuse of these common concepts and reuse rather than reuse of data from those artifacts across these systems and decreased maintenance costs. So what this gives us is better visibility because all of a sudden the lifecycle is this graph that's navigable by open standards, and we've got increased traceability and just enough integration in the sense that if all that's required is linking across two systems, that can be done all through OSLC standards. If some data interchange is required, that can be layered on. If common query facilities are needed, those are provided by the OSLC standards. And all of these things get standard interfaces. So depending on the organization's needs or on the tool vendor's needs, on top of this common set of standards, we can layer on the integration scenarios to actually deliver value. Be that simple linking, be that some kind of reporting, be that the flow of data across tools so stakeholders can collaborate in a heterogeneous environment. The idea is that OSLC is an open and scalable approach to lifecycle integrations. And to simplify this notion of integrations across these heterogeneous tools, by providing them, and I've been focusing on describing this, how we provide them a set of open standards, but it's also a set of architectural principles that have really evolved from the open web for the way that tool vendors and tools themselves approach integration. So previously, a lot of tools have had, or actually currently, a lot of application lifecycle management tools have completely different approaches to how they link artifacts, even within themselves, or to external artifacts like URLs. Some see things as URLs, some see things as a bit more than URLs, where they can actually get some information from an artifact. What we get with OSLC, what every vendor gets, is a common base architecture for dealing with third-party systems and with data potentially within its own systems. And then again, integrations can be layered on top of that in a principled way. So the whole goal of standardizing OSLC and of bringing on a community, a key part of this is all the activity that's happened on openservices.net, so where OSLC currently lives. We've got the World Wide Web and linked data portion of OSLC that's influenced the architecture as a key part of the standard, and now OASIS. We're going to be governed on OASIS. The leadership is going to come through that, and the community participation will come through that, while Eclipse Leo provides the implementation portion of OSLC. So vendors wanting to build on some of these open standards can use the TCKs provided by Leo, can use some of the SDKs provided there as well. So again, the idea that we've got here is we've got a foundational technology for all lifecycle integrations and a set of standards and a set of SDKs and TCKs, they're Eclipse-based for any organizations wanting to get started with this. We've got the place where all the discussion, the collaboration around standards for lifecycle integration is happening. And again, the governance model now from OASIS to further facilitate that and to make that easier for an even broader set of large vendors and of organizations to adopt. And OSLC is now even more rapidly going to become the natural standard for defining these loosely coupled integrations in new domains, be that PLM, be that other parts of software delivery or of knowledge delivery that have to do with managing a heterogeneous lifecycle. So with that, I'll pass the baton to Scott McGrath, and we'll take questions on any of this at the end. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mick. My name is Scott McGrath. I'm the COO of OASIS, and have had the extreme pleasure of working with the OSLC team as they come to OASIS, and have to be part of this first day here. So a little bit about OASIS. OASIS is a nonprofit group formed 20 years ago to advance document standards, but frankly with no particular grand scheme other than to enable and facilitate people who do have grand schemes like the OSLC team. Right now we represent a global community. There's a little over 5,000 people actively engaged from 600 organizations from 100 countries. And as you look at that pie chart on the right, you can see a pretty good distribution of participants globally, but you can also change the labels if you wanted to and use a very similar pie chart if you're talking about vendors versus implementers and academics and government agencies and things. So the OASIS community is very diverse, and that's one of our ultimate goals. And I want to close that. That's one of our ultimate goals and why we've survived for 20 years and thrived and grown for 20 years. We have a very democratic process. It's very open. The entire website is visible to the public and to the much larger, broader community of implementers and adopters. So that's our purpose. Right now we're the home of 9 member sections, counting OSLC. I'll talk a little bit about what the thing member section means, and over 70, well over 70 technical committees, and we kind of all understand what the technical committee is all about. But right now these folks are creating standards for cloud, M2M, Internet of Things, many years of security work and privacy and content management, and just a broad range of technologies, which brings a broad range of members, which is very helpful for us as an organization and for new people coming in, because there's a robust community of people who are ready to start helping today. So that's the purpose of that, and that's why we do it. And as I said, the whole agenda, the technical agenda of OASIS comes from the members and not from the organization itself. When you look at the OASIS bug carefully, you see it everywhere in our logo, but when you look very carefully, you see that we have a little exploded view here so you can see it more carefully. It's really, OASIS really is the members. It's the standards we create. It's a robust group of standards that, from DocBook, which came to us well over a decade ago, and is, cause for, 4 or 5 hits a second on our server, to SAML, which is about as ubiquitous a standard as you'll get in this world, and dozens of others. But that's the OASIS community, and that's really what OASIS is. And we're very, pleased to be able to add OSLC to that mix, and we'll have to, find space for them in our logo somewhere, but it'll work. Right now, this is what OSLC looks like. There's, vendors, there's implementers, there's users, there's small companies, there's large companies, there's universities, and this is just the people that came to OASIS. Again, there's hundreds of other people in OASIS that are considering this work, and we expect, we hope, that there'll be a whole lot of other folks joining us as well, because that's the purpose of OASIS. That's the mission of OASIS, is to bring people together. So when we think of why OSLC came here and not, forming their own .org or whatever that people do sometimes, OASIS has a well-known, open, accredited process, ANSI accredited. The process is transparent and it's available to all. As I said, the ability for people to join in and contribute and have their perspectives known in a specification like OSLC is critical. And that's one of the things that makes OASIS so attractive. As I said, there's hundreds of members already of OASIS, and there's very low barriers to participation to anyone who isn't. Perhaps curious to OASIS is this whole notion that everyone gets the same vote. We have people that pay us $1,000 a year and people pay us $50,000 a year, and that buys them exactly one vote in this work. So we really can take the input of the entire marketplace, which is, again, what we love to do. With the balance of rules and freedoms, we try not to constrain people with too many rules, but we do know we need specifications that can be implemented, and they will stand the test of time. And people, when it's done, people will look at it and say, I trust it, I can implement it, I can use it, and I know what I'm going to get years down the road. So when OSLC comes to OASIS, the 2 points here describe the member section model, right? OSL retains its elected governance and brand. They set their own technical agenda. So that's the member section, the kind of unique, special part of what we do for some groups who want this level of governance. We offer that. The TC process remains the same for everybody. Everyone can form their own committees. They create their specs. They participate everywhere they want. And they have the commitment from OASIS that we host things permanently. It was 10 years ago. Vibrant specification. The IPR policy in OASIS is well known and well trusted, and takes an awful lot of uncertainty out of the development and implementation of standards. But we know that sometimes OASIS standard isn't, everything that people need. We are ANSI accredited, so anything created in OASIS can carry the American National Standard brand if you so choose. If we need to advance it to ISO, IEC, ITU, et cetera, we have those relationships in place so that, if that's the kind of branding and specification people need, stability, we can offer that as well. So that's a quick synopsis of OASIS, and I'll run it over to Ludmila now to talk about her experience and why she has joined the group.
Ludmila, are you on mute?
Yes, sorry. I forgot.
There you go. Would you like to select show my screen?
Yes, I just see if now I can control.
Perfect. There you go.
Yeah. And good morning, everyone. I'm Ludmila Ohlsson. I'm working as a strategic product manager for Ericsson. And my role is implementation of the integration framework within Ericsson. I just want to give few information about the Ericsson. As you know, that Ericsson is one of the biggest company in software development, and we have about 40% of the world's mobile calls are made on Ericsson networks. We have more than 40,000 patents, which is important, and we are more than 110,000 employees and more than 25,000 in R&D. And you can find Ericsson in around 180 countries we operate, and we have extremely many subscribers, and probably most of you are using Ericsson network. So Ericsson is a big company, and what is the past? I mean, it's a company started 135 years by Lars Magnus Ericsson, and From this time, we've done a lot of things. We work with a lot of technology and a lot of partners in telecom. And we are now working with a new standard which is very important for the whole communication and telecom communication. We're also working with open standards, and especially with telecom, but we're trying as well to put a lot of standards within let's say, software development as well. But most of our partners are around the telecom and standards. But as I said, we are the 5th largest software suppliers in the world, and this means that we need to work to improve our software development and make it much more efficient. And that's why we need to build our environment and tool landscape in the right way. So why integration? I mean, we got a lot of good comments from Mick, but I just want to repeat some of those. I mean, we have multiple tools involved with end-to-end. We need to support end-to-end flow. And within Ericsson, we have more than 4,000 different applications, 4,000 different tools. With the different APIs, which we need to integrate in a different way. So integrations give us possibility to seamless and transform if possible, and ideally focus on flow and information, but not the tools. And there's another thing which is very important when we interconnect tools, that we can easily visualize the data from the different solutions and from different tools. And this is extremely important for our product development, and especially within communication between different product development units and between multi-standard features development. So here are just an example of different reports which we needed in a daily basis across different product development units. As a release train, is Kanban, a measurement, dashboards, and so on. And what is a tool framework? Last year, we started a study about showing how we would like to integrate tools. And after the study, we decided to go for OSLC as a way of integrating our tool landscape. And to implement this, we started a program which tried to implement our integration and look for different existing solutions on the market. But as I said, OSLC is our choice, and we try to use it on a daily basis, but also we try to improve it for the future. And when we're working with this, OSLC, we're putting our efforts in different areas. For example, integration principles, standardization, reporting services, test services, data model, use cases, and ways of working. Within this tool framework, we try to integrate tools from different areas. Here, just a few examples of the areas which is most hot today. And those are ongoing activity which we are working today is implementation of OSLC in new interfaces. You should have in mind that we have those more than 4,000 different tools and applications. With those are commercial tools, there are open source tools, and of course there's a lot of Ericsson proprietary tools. And we are now implementing OSLC within those which are Ericsson proprietary tools, but we are also discussing with a lot of vendors on how they should implement OSLC and make the OSLC as a part of the solution. We have different proof of concept going on with different vendors and looking for how we would like to integrate, what type of integration is interesting. And of course, OSLC is a key issue. And visualization, as I said, reports are extremely important when you integrate the tools, and you need to follow what is going on, especially in agile transformation, which we have ongoing within Ericsson. It's very, very important that each and every minute the developers can follow the status of the build or the status of the release project and so on. We're also trying to collaborate with similar companies on OSLC. So we have a great collaboration in Sweden, of course, but we have collaboration across European Union with European Union projects, but also with another countries. We're also working with the university just to further develop OSLC, but just also to find a way how we can easily build plugins and use existing plugins from different vendors. And of course, we're collecting findings and trying to find a way how to improve what we have today, and so on. So what OSLC and OASIS means for Ericsson? I mean, it means that we're going to get a quicker integration between different tools, but also better visualization. So we'll get cheaper, quicker, and better integration visualization. But also, why we need to OASIS? OSLC standard will drive new implementation from our many suppliers. I mean, we really would like to get many of our suppliers on board with OSLC. And we know that we succeeded when we work with, for example, with Eclipse. And OASIS standardization process will help us to drive new standards in the future OSLC standards. So it's we are succeeded with a lot of good practices and good patterns, but there's a new possibility to achieve if we work all together. So this is my presentation, and now we have a time for the questions.